Imagine you're in a room all by yourself. You have nothing to do. No phone, no book, no window to look out of. Just you and your thoughts for 15 minutes. There is, however, one other thing in the room. A button. If you press it, you receive a painful but harmless electric shock. What do you do? In 2014, scientists ran this exact experiment. They wanted to know how much we hate being bored. The results were shocking. A staggering 67% of men and 25% of women chose to voluntarily shock themselves rather than sit alone with their thoughts. We are so terrified of boredom that we would rather experience physical pain than a moment of quiet idleness. But what if this thing we dread, this feeling we run from, is not just harmless, but actually essential? What if being bored is one of the best things you can do for your brain, your creativity, and your well-being? Let's start with the obvious. We live in a world that has declared war on boredom. The average American now spends over 5 hours a day on their phone. A recent survey found that 76% of us feel panicked if we can't reach our device. Addiction specialist Dr. Anna Lemke calls our phones modern-day hypodermic needles. They deliver tiny, endless hits of dopamine, a chemical that makes us feel pleasure and reward. Every swipe, every like, every new video is a tiny injection. The problem is, our brains adapt. Over time, we need bigger and more frequent hits to feel the same level of satisfaction. Everyday life, with its normal, slower pace, starts to feel dull and intolerable. We've forgotten how to be alone with our own minds because the silence feels like withdrawal. This constant stimulation comes at a cost. Since the 1990s, as 24/7 media became the norm, scores on standardized creativity tests have been plummeting. We're more connected, yet studies show we're also more anxious, less focused, and less happy. We filled every empty moment, but we may have lost something precious in the process. So, what actually happens when we stop running and let boredom catch up? In a clever experiment, researchers divided people into two groups. One group got to do a fun, engaging craft activity. The other was given a painfully dull task, sorting a big bowl of beans by color. Afterward, both groups were asked to tackle a creative challenge. Come up with imaginative excuses for being late. The results were clear. The group that had been bored by sorting beans came up with significantly more ideas, and their ideas were rated as far more creative and original than the group that had fun. Boredom, it turns out, is a powerful creative spark. When our minds are not given external stimulation, they're forced to create their own. History is filled with examples of this. In 1990, a delayed train journey from Manchester to London left a young writer named J.K. Rowling with 4 hours of nothing to do. She had no working pen and was too shy to ask for one. So she just sat there and thought. And in that stretch of forced boredom, the entire world of Harry Potter flooded into her mind. Legendary composer George Balanchine said he got his best ideas for ballets while doing mundane chores like ironing. The acclaimed author Ray Bradbury gave this advice to aspiring writers. Don't think. Thinking is the enemy of creativity. He was championing the power of the idle mind, of letting ideas emerge on their own, without force. This isn't just a quirk of creative geniuses. It's about how our brains are wired. For a long time, neuroscientists assumed that when we weren't focused on a task, our brains were just off. But then they discovered something remarkable. There's a web of brain regions now called the default mode network. And it doesn't just turn on when we do nothing. It becomes a powerhouse. When you're daydreaming, letting your mind wander, or just staring out a window, this network roars to life. Incredibly, it uses more of the brain's energy than almost any other activity. So, what is it doing? It's consolidating memories, connecting old ideas to new ones, and simulating future possibilities. It's basically your brain's built-in brainstorming session. That's why your best ideas often pop into your head in the shower, on a long walk, or when you're washing dishes. Your conscious mind is quiet, allowing your default mode network to get to work. Mind wandering isn't a waste of time. It helps us integrate what we've learned, solve stubborn problems, and form those aha moments that feel like they come from nowhere. Our modern aversion to boredom is actually a very recent development. For most of human history, idleness wasn't seen as a problem to be solved. Ancient Romans valued odium, a state of contemplative leisure, essential for intellectual life. From an evolutionary standpoint, boredom was a survival tool. An animal that was easily bored was more likely to explore new territory, find new food sources, and discover better ways to live. For our ancestors, complacency was dangerous. Boredom was the itch that drove them to innovate and roam. It was only with the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the Protestant work ethic that idleness became stigmatized. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Time was money, and any moment not spent being productive was considered wasted, even sinful. Today, that mindset has gone into overdrive. We wear busyness as a badge of honor, but we've forgotten that our brains were built for cycles of activity and rest. Of course, it's important to acknowledge that boredom can have a dark side. It is a powerful motivator, and if not channeled, it can lead to dangerous behavior. In 2013, 3 teenagers in Oklahoma shot and killed a random stranger. Their reason, stated in court, was chillingly simple. We were bored. The U.S. Army has documented how boredom in barracks leads soldiers to invent risky entertainment like riding fuel tanks like mechanical bulls. The drive for stimulation is so strong that people will do reckless and sometimes terrible things to escape the feeling of emptiness. This brings us back to the electric shock experiment. The psychological discomfort of boredom can be so intense that we seek out any distraction, even a painful one. This has created a great debate in our culture. On one side, you have the productivity posse. They argue that boredom is the enemy. An idle moment is a wasted opportunity. They believe we should fill our downtime with productive activities, learning a new language, networking, exercising. To them, boredom is a symptom of laziness. On the other side are the mindful mavericks, psychologists, artists, and neuroscientists who argue that boredom is not just necessary, but precious. They believe we need to intentionally carve out moments of nothingness to allow our brains to reset and recharge. This debate is clouded by a few common myths. Myth 1. Boredom is just laziness. The reality is that boredom is a sign that your brain is hungry for engagement, but nothing in your environment is satisfying that hunger. It's not a moral failing, it's a neural signal. It's the starting gun for your imagination. Myth 2. Technology has solved boredom. Actually, the evidence suggests technology can make it worse. The more we swipe and scroll, the higher our tolerance for stimulation becomes, making normal life feel even more boring. Studies have found that watching an endless stream of short, fast-paced videos actually leaves people feeling more bored, not less. So how do we get good at being bored? It doesn't mean you have to sit in an empty room and torture yourself. It's about finding moments of low-stimulus activity. Go for a walk and leave your phone at home. Let your mind wander. Don't listen to a podcast or music, just walk. Do a simple, repetitive chore like folding laundry or washing dishes. Let your thoughts drift. The next time you're waiting in line, resist the urge to pull out your phone. Just stand there. Look around. Notice the details you usually miss. It will feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain, accustomed to its constant dopamine drip, will protest. But if you stick with it, something amazing happens. Your mind will start to generate its own entertainment. Ideas will bubble up. You'll feel a sense of clarity and calm. A recent study confirmed this. Young adults who restricted their social media use to just 30 minutes a day for 2 weeks reported significant drops in stress and major improvements in sleep and life satisfaction. A little bit of boredom goes a long way. In the end, boredom isn't an empty space we need to fill. It's the fertile ground where our best ideas root take. It's the quiet space where we get to know ourselves again. The greatest threat isn't boredom itself, but our desperate, frantic flight from it. So the next time you have a spare 5 minutes, try something radical. Resist the urge to fill it. Do nothing and see what happens.